Everybody has his own journey, but this man, William Ruto, has a story that is impossible to ignore. While others saw nobody, he saw a future. While they laughed at his beginnings and looked down on where he came from, he was learning the game. But perhaps the most powerful weapon Ruto had was not money, connections, or a famous name. It was an unshakable belief in himself. Even when the odds were against him, he carried himself like a man who knew exactly where he was going.
Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. I will hang on to those words.
From humble beginnings in the Rift Valley to the highest office in the Republic of Kenya, his journey has been filled with ambition, political battles, powerful alliances, rejection, and remarkable comebacks. He was underestimated, criticized, and often counted out. But somehow, every setback only seemed to make him more determined to rise. Born on December 21, 1966, in Sambut.
This man here is my dad. Many people, when I ran for the first time in 1997, when I went around because my father was not prominent, many people did not ask me, oh, who is your dad? Is he the managing director of this company? Was he a chief? Was he what? Was he what? I told them it was not all.
William Ruto grew up far from the political elite that would later surround him. He attended local schools before joining the University of Nairobi, where he studied botany and zoology. His beginnings were modest, but from an early age, Ruto developed a strong belief that his circumstances would not define his future. That belief would eventually become one of the strongest themes of his political career. At the University of Nairobi, Ruto studied botany and zoology, but politics was already beginning to pull him in. In the early 1990s, he became involved with YK92, a youth movement supporting President Daniel Arap Moi. That experience introduced him to the world of Kenyan politics and gave him his first real taste of political influence. For Ruto, this was more than just an opportunity. It was the beginning of a journey that would eventually take him to the highest office in the country. In 1997, Ruto won the Eldoret North parliamentary seat and officially entered the national political arena. He quickly climbed the political ladder, serving in several government positions and building relationships across the political landscape. But his greatest strength was perhaps his ability to survive change. Governments changed, alliances shifted, and political enemies emerged, yet Ruto kept finding a way forward. He wasn't always the most powerful man in the room, but he was becoming one of the most difficult to remove from the game. Then came one of the most important partnerships of his career. Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta joined forces, forming the Jubilee Alliance ahead of the 2013 election. Despite their very different political backgrounds, they presented themselves as a team and won the presidency. Ruto became deputy president, and in 2017, the pair won a second term. But behind the scenes, the relationship that had taken them to power was slowly beginning to fall apart. The political marriage between Uhuru and Ruto eventually broke down. The 2018 handshake between Kenyatta and Raila Odinga dramatically changed Kenya's political landscape, while Ruto increasingly found himself isolated within the government he had helped build.
Mimi nikaambiwa shughuli za naibu wa rais sasa itafanywa na Matiang'i na wengine. Nasema ni sawa kwa sababu unajua naheshimu mkubwa wangu rais akishaamua basi.
But instead of disappearing, he went back to the people. He began building a new political identity around the ordinary Kenyan, turning his own humble beginnings into a powerful political message. Ruto's new message was simple. Kenya was divided between the privileged political elite and ordinary hustlers trying to survive. He presented himself as a hustler who had risen from humble beginnings, and the message resonated with millions. The campaign became a battle between what he called the hustler nation and the political dynasties. But behind the slogans was a much bigger ambition. Ruto wasn't simply trying to become influential again. He was fighting for the presidency. In 2022, everything came down to one election. Ruto faced Raila Odinga in one of Kenya's most closely watched political battles, while his former boss Uhuru Kenyatta openly backed Raila. Ruto campaigned on the promise of representing ordinary Kenyans and ran a fiercely competitive campaign. When the results were announced, Ruto was declared the winner with a narrow margin. Raila challenged the result in the Supreme Court, but the court upheld Ruto's victory. After years of political battles, the man who had spent decades climbing the political ladder had finally reached the top. On September 13, 2022, William Samoei Ruto was sworn in as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. Think about the journey, from a modest upbringing in the Rift Valley to a young politician trying to find his place, to cabinet minister, deputy president, and finally president. The man who had spent years fighting to be taken seriously was now sitting in State House. But reaching State House was only the beginning of another battle. Ruto inherited an economy facing serious challenges and quickly faced public pressure over taxes, the cost of living, and his government's policies. His presidency has been marked by fierce political debates, protests, changing alliances, and growing criticism, while his supporters continue to defend his economic agenda and vision for Kenya. The same resilience that helped him climb the political ladder was now being tested from the highest office in the land. Love him or hate him, William Ruto's journey is difficult to ignore. He was not born into Kenya's most powerful political family, yet he managed to navigate decades of political battles, survive changing alliances, defeat powerful opponents, and eventually reach State House. His story is one of ambition, survival, belief, and political calculation. From the man many once underestimated to the President of the Republic of Kenya, one thing remains undeniable. William Ruto's journey from the bottom to the top is one of the most remarkable political stories in modern Kenya.